Welcome everybody to the webinar today. My name is Ryan with Halt the Harm Network. I'm so glad to have Matt Kelso and Colin Smith from FracTracker Alliance presenting this event, Community Monitoring of Oil and Gas and Petrochemicals with the FracTracker mobile app.
Hello, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining our presentation about the FracTracker mobile app. For those of you who are new to this app, welcome. This app is designed to be a tool to allow those who are interested in the impacts of oil and gas or petrochemical development to document what they are experiencing, as well as to learn from other people's accounts. For those who have used the app in the past, welcome back. This is more than a refresher because we have a lot of new functionality to cover over previous versions of our app, including interacting as organizations, running specific campaigns, reporting to directly to regulatory agencies, and some major changes to our mapping tool, to name a few. So it's also a whole new user interface, which we hope will enhance your experience and make this app as useful of a tool as possible. So we'd like to thank Halt the Harm for producing this presentation for you today. We would also like to thank Viable for developing the app. Emily Sukunik for her user experience expertise, and Mosaic for funding the project, which would not be possible without them. Additionally, we'd like to give a shout out to a number of groups who have agreed to provide us with feedback on the app, including BCMAC, Livable Arlington, Protect PT, The Greater Good, Corpus Christi, Society of Native Nations, and Mark Dixon at Blue Lens LLC. All of these groups are going to help make this app as useful as possible for the people who are in the field. We also want to thank Lana Greer and her students at the University of Chicago for their help in developing the regulatory reporting feature that we'll talk about in a little bit. And of course, thanks to all of you for coming and spending some time with us here today. So this presentation will be in two parts. First, I'm going to go over the basics of the app as a slideshow. Then Colin's going to take over and do some live demonstrations to show you the process of how to do some of the key functions on the app. And then we have time scheduled at the end for questions, but feel free to drop your thoughts in the chat as we go along as well. So if you're interested, please feel free to download the app and follow along while you watch. And just so everybody knows, this app is free and there are no in-app purchases. And there we go. So I wanted to put our mission here in case you don't know who FracTracker is. So our mission statement reads, FracTracker Alliance maps, analyzes, and communicates the risks of oil, gas, and petrochemical development to advance just alternatives that protect public health, natural resources, and the climate. So this is very much in mind while we're talking about the app. The app was designed in a large part to help accomplish some of these things. So how do you get to the app? Well, the short version is you go to this URL right here, www.fractracker.org/apps. And when you go there, you'll see that there's three different links. There's one for the iOS store, for Apple devices. There's one for the Android Google Play Store for Android devices. And if you want to experience this on a laptop or a desktop, or you just don't feel like downloading another app, you can always go to the web app version, and that's linked here as well. I want to briefly go over the history of the FracTracker app. It's been around for a long time. We first discussed it in 2013, and the first version of it was released in 2014. And we've made some changes throughout the years. The web app was an addition in 2018. The app that we're talking about today is very different. So if you've used the app in the past, the experience is going to be pretty different. So We'd like to take this moment to give a shout out to Viable for the development work on this app for this version and all the way since the beginning. So thanks to them for some great work. So why do we want to use this app? Why do you want to use this app? So it's impossible for all of us to be everywhere. And unfortunately, the news doesn't always keep us informed on environmental issues outside of our immediate area. So because of that, crowdsourcing is a really good way to keep track of what happens all around the country. So what kinds of impacts are we looking for? That's really up to you. It could be major incidents, chronic polluters, or quality of life concerns. So far, we have reports showing enormous water impoundments for the oil and gas industry on state land, abandoned wells situated next to hiking trails, and signs showing water usage limits and pictures of gigantic facilities. We hope that you will document what you see so that others can better understand what it's like to look through your eyes. And in turn, you can view through their content and look through their eyes as well. This is an overview of the main features and functions that we want to review today, and it's going to serve a little bit like a table of contents of what we're going to be talking about here. It's listed in the order that you might encounter it on the app, and we're going to talk about it in that order, except that we're going to go to this part highlighted in pink first, the login process, in case anybody would like to follow along. So the login process, this is our login screen. So if you already have an account with us, this would be the place where you can sign in after updating the app. If you don't have an account, then you can click the brown register button and get started. The app usually leaves you logged in by default, so you don't have to hunt down your password every time that you want to use it. However, you are welcome to log out whenever you want to if you don't want to stay logged in. And occasionally there are situations where you might get logged out if you haven't used the app in a while. So if you're planning on going into the field, it might be a good idea to check the to check that you're logged into the app before you get into a situation with limited connectivity. And this is our registration page. It does not ask for a lot. It asks for your first and last name and your email address. There's nothing stopping you from entering a pseudonym here, although there is functionality in the app that allows you to use an alias. We do need a valid email address from you, though, in case there's any need for communication or if you want to submit something to a regulatory agency down the line, that's going to be required for that as well. And then you can set up a password as the next screen. And this is pretty standard stuff. It does require a fairly strong password. It tells you what the requirements are, so you don't have to keep guessing, and it shows you as you go along whether or not you're meeting the various requirements. All of these red X's here will turn to green check marks once they're completed. And then you need to agree to the terms of service and then click the create my account button. And the terms of service is linked here, so you can definitely go check that out and read those as well. So once you do that, the menu bar at the bottom changes a little bit, and we have these five
Grace, this is Robert John Dawes in Pennsylvania, 814-386-2860.
We have this this menu bar at the bottom with these five main categories: dashboard, map, report, discover, and profile. And so we're going to go through those in order. The dashboard has a lot of content, so that's further broken up into a number of other tabs here at the top. And the first one of those is updates. So the dashboard in general is a personalized place that's designed to be a location where you can quickly find items that are of interest to you. The first is updates, as I mentioned, which shows FracTracker app submissions that have been made within a radius that you have predetermined. So we see this big button that says add radius setting. Let's go take a look at that right now. This is what it looks like when you press that button. It takes you to the radius page. And here you can zoom the map to any location. There's also a button at the bottom of the map that's not currently showing that says use my current location. And you can do that so that you don't have to fiddle with the map itself. And then you have to provide a name of the radius and some description so that these things make sense to you later on. And then there's a drop-down tool where you can choose distances between 5 miles and 30 miles. So what this does is it collects reports that are submitted within that area. So if you're interested in the beaver cracker plant, for example, and here in Pennsylvania, you could say, I want to know anytime anything happens within 10 miles of this facility. And then those reports will come into your updates section on the dashboard. Next tab we have is campaigns. Still in the dashboard section. So there's a lot to talk about with campaigns. They are collaborative places to organize your community activism. Campaigns could represent a specific project or area of interest. For example, FracTracker had a project documenting development in the Raccoon Creek watershed. This functionality would have been perfect for that, allowing us to keep our content in an organized in one location. Campaigns could be ongoing. Let's say you want to document the events in the Houston Ship Channel over time, for example. They could be thematic. Perhaps you want to have a nationwide group showing large facilities that are located next to houses. You could do that too. Campaign leaders can decide whether to open up to anyone or on the app or keep their content more private. They can also set goals for the group and make some internal announcements. So in short, whatever makes sense for the work that you do in this space is what is how this is designed. Somewhat similar to campaigns is organizations. Organizations are another tool to help make the site as useful as possible. It's another layer of organization. They're similar to campaigns in some respects, but they're intended to be a homepage in the app for real-world organizations. So this is meant to be a customizable space as well, and also provides control over what is shared publicly. Organizations can be involved in many campaigns, and campaigns can also be shared across multiple organizations or the general public. So they're not nested one inside of another. If you are interested in setting up an organization, at this moment, we're asking that you reach out to FracTracker, and we will help you set that up. The last sub-tab in the dashboard section is alerts. And the alerts page tells you about updates to the campaigns that you're involved in. Also, public announcements from other campaigns will show up here as well. It's a way to keep track of what's happening around the app. The second tab on the bottom is our map tool. The map tab, by default, shows the reports that are available on the app. So that's what's showing here currently in red. If you want to see what's happening around you, click Get My Location. That's here at the very top of the page. Or if you prefer, you can just zoom around the map with your fingers or the plus and minus buttons on the app. So the blue icon at the bottom of the screen opens the legend and layer selection tool. So let's take a look at that. So here we're looking at 9 different data layers, all of which are as up to date as possible. In addition to the reports, which is this top one here in red, The other 8 layers show oil and gas wells and various other midstream or downstream facilities. You can turn these on and off by clicking the slider button next to each item. In this example, I have 5 different layers turned on. You can see uh, they're all highlighted here so that it's obvious which one to turn on. By default, we keep most of these layers off except for the reports because it can be difficult to navigate the map when there's so much going on. But they're always here for you if you want them, so just keep that in mind. The next tab at the bottom is the Reports tab. These are at the heart of the mobile app. This is where you can document what you're seeing and share this with others on the site. If you want to keep your report private, or if you're in the woods and you don't have a good cellular connection, you can always elect to save it as a draft. And if you are ready to share it with the app, then you can hit the share button for all to see. Once you share a report, it will appear as an icon on the map. Recent reports also appear in the Discover page, which we'll talk about in just a minute. This is the process for submitting a report. It doesn't ask for a lot. I will say the more information you can put here, the better for yourself for later, as well as for other people who may encounter your report. It does ask for the date of the incident. That's pre-populated. You can change it. There are situations where it would make sense to change it, like if you were filling it out the next day, for example. Then the title of the report and the additional description. Those are pretty self-explanatory. After that, then you are making a selection on what industry this is from. And we have, I think, 11 different categories of industries. Only 4 or 5 of them are showing here on the screen. And then after that, you can elect to add a photo. They're not required, but they are useful, and they do capture the eye when you're browsing through the different reports on different parts of the app. So always useful to have a photo if you can. And then you can add your location, and the process is similar to what we've talked about on on the map menu tab, where there's a button where you can click Get My Current Location to do most of that work for you. Or you can move it to a specific location. Again, if you're doing this on the web app and this is the photo that you took yesterday while in the field, you're not going to want to use your current location. You're going to want to use the location where you actually took the photo. So that's a possibility there. And then the last step is to save as a draft or submit report. But before you hit either of those buttons, you'll come across this question. And that is file a report to local regulatory agencies. And by default, this box is on no, but you can click the drop-down box and move it to yes, file a report to regulators. This is currently available in 17 states. They're listed here on the screen. I want to give a big shout out to Lana Greer and her team at the University of Chicago for the work that they did helping to develop this particular function. It was a lot of work, and they've really made that pretty smooth. So even though it is pretty smooth, I should mention that it is still somewhat experimental in that we have reached out to all of the states on that list, but we don't really know how they're going to react until those reports start coming in. So that's a thing to keep in mind. And we definitely are eager to see what happens when some of those actionable reports are sent. Obviously, we don't want to send them all of our reports if we're just taking a picture of a facility that they already know is there. They probably won't want to do much about that. A couple of other thoughts here. there's a little bit of back end information that's relevant to know here. So there's two different methods for how the states accept these reports. One is through an email, and another one is through an online form. And either way, they usually request your or require your contact information, and many of these states will want to contact you to talk to you before they go out in the field to investigate something. So keep that in mind. When it is a email submission, that email technically comes from FracTracker, and you're copied in that email. But just keep in mind, it is a little bit experimental until we start giving this some use. The next tab at the bottom is Discover, and the Discover panel has three different activity feeds in it. Here we're seeing reports. When you scroll down, there's also campaigns and organizations, and this is just a way to browse the content that people have been submitting on the app. And again, the campaigns and organizations only show what's public. They don't show all of the information for those groups. And Cullen is going to be reviewing the process of creating a campaign in just a few minutes. So if you want to see what that looks like, stay tuned for that. And the last tab at the bottom is Profile. And Profile also has a large amount of content. And so it's broken up into three sub-tabs. The first of those is Reports. And this is where you find the reports that you have submitted already, but also the reports that you've saved privately and haven't shared app-wide. They're all visible here. And you can edit or delete these reports or access them to open them and view them from this location by swiping left or right on them. The next sub-tab under Profile is Campaigns, and this shows the campaigns that you're involved in and your role in them. So for this particular campaign, I am a campaign leader, and if I would like to go to that campaign page, then I click on More Info and it will take me there. If your account has been vetted with FracTracker, this is also a place where you can create new campaigns by clicking this Add button here at the top. And then saved, this is a page where you can see bookmarked content. Right now you can bookmark organizations. Pretty soon you'll be able to bookmark campaigns as well. And when you do, they will show up here on the saved sub-tab under Profile. And this allows you to find the stuff that's really critical to find quickly here without having to scroll through large amounts of content first. I also want to call attention to the help and more information. At the very top of the screen in this brown bar, it says need help, check out our documentation. This checkout is a hyperlink. You can click on that and it will take you to this page. We've mentioned this page before, fractracker.org/apps. And when you're there, you'll find a number of things. It includes the links to download the app like we saw before. It has a list of frequently asked questions about the app. It has a link to a feedback form, and if you use the app, we ask you to please let us know what you think, and so that feedback form is there for that purpose. And then it also has links to our privacy policy, our terms of service, and our data statement, which are just highlighted here in red. We encourage everybody to read those. They're as accessible as possible. They're not hopeless legalese, or at least not too bad, we hope. But it's worth taking a look at that just so you know where we stand on all of those things. In short, we know that your privacy is important to you, and we've taken a lot of steps to protect that, and a lot of the tools that are built into the app have privacy in mind, like the ability to decide what you want to share and what you don't want to share publicly. I do want to give a couple of words of caution. There's two situations worth thinking about before heading out into the field, documenting things. One is trespassing. So trespassing is it's probably easier to do than it should be, right? Like you don't always necessarily know when you're uh, on the company's land necessarily, especially if you're out in the woods. Like we've been on some uh, projects in the Susquehanna River Basin, for example, where there's well pads that are just right there on the side of the road in state forest land. Um, so those are the kinds of things where you want to be careful and make sure that you don't trespass, because this is essentially a documentation tool, and it does capture the location where your photo was taken. It does capture um, the picture of the facility as well. So I want to make sure that it's not used to get anyone in trouble. So please be mindful about that. And then, somewhat related, different states have different rules or different laws on critical infrastructure. One thing that's recent, earlier this year, Wyoming passed a law that prohibits filming critical infrastructure with a drone. Um, and so we don't know what those laws are in all of the states and jurisdictions. So please be careful about that sort of thing as well, and try to be informed before you head out into the field. Um, and now I'm going to stop sharing, and Cullen is going to take over for a live demonstration.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Ryan. On your screen should be the iPad version of the app. So I'm going to show you two different levels when it comes to user access. I'm first going to show you the generic version, and we'll go through the login process together, and then I'll show you a verified version. So as Matt showed earlier, we don't ask for a whole lot of information, but we do need some basic contact information in order to give you access. So once you're logged in and registered, you can fill in your email address and password. But since we're starting from the beginning, we're going to go down here to register an account. Stick in your name, whether it's your real one or alias. At this point, it doesn't really matter. If we contact you later, we might need to clarify, but for now, it could be anything. We'll get creative, pick another Smith. Sign up. Now you need your password, as Matt showed before. And as you mentioned, these X's turn green once you satisfy one of the characteristics. And you can't click create until you actually check that you agree to the terms and conditions. And then just below, there's a short disclaimer that can also be found in the terms and conditions. From here, you can set up your profile. It's not necessary, but if you want to stick alias in here or a short bio that you can see later on, we'll skip it for this time. And then, as Matt said, your privacy is very important to us, so we want to make sure you have as much control as possible. In this case, we'll just leave these toggled on. So this case, it's going to show the full name that I entered, and also there are notifications that you're able to get. We don't want to be too intrusive, but we also want you to know when things are actively happening in your campaigns. So you can toggle this on and off here or later on in the profile. And go through a couple basic things from the general user perspective. We'll check out the campaigns first. We'll click on this Plum Borough one. Down here, Matt showed that there are several or 3 tabs that you can look at. Right now, you can't see anything because the campaign manager has not set the permissions for the general public to view these. We'll go through that in a second. There's a handful of selections that we try to give campaign managers enough control that if they want to keep their groups small and private, but yet keep the reports in the app, as well as if they want it to be wide open, they can open it up to the world essentially and allow everybody in access. But there are some gray areas, so we try to give you a little bit extra control. Go back to the Discover page. You can go to the reports. And this is a feed of all the reports that have been logged throughout the years up to this point. In here, you're able to share reports, and you're also able to bookmark reports. We'll just go back in real quick. We'll bookmark it for demonstration purposes later. When clicking on actual reports themselves, it takes you to the report that the person filed, and it shows you a map of where their location was that they provided themselves and the description down below, along with the coordinates. Campaigns you can also click on, and this is also the entire public feed. So at the moment, there's 5 campaigns in here. Or you can click on the individual campaigns themselves. And as Matt said, same thing goes for organizations. Now, since we're just a general user in this case, when you click on create a campaign, you're going to be stopped at this pop-up. At the moment, we're verifying each individual that is campaigning campaigns and creating organizations in order to cut down on the spam. Anybody can create a report, but as far as tying it to an actual campaign, that comes a little bit later on with a little bit more permissions. I'll show you real quick what these forms look like. So again, we're not asking for a ton of information. It's more just to verify that you're an individual and that we have access to contact you later in case there are any issues. So we need your basic name of the campaign, the goals of the campaign, a contact email, and if you'd like to provide a name of the contact, we would also like that. Organizations are very similar. And since I'm in this browser, I'll show you these extra tabs as well. This is the landing page for all the help documentation and frequently asked questions that Matt showed before. Down below, we should probably make this more accessible, but there's a share your feedback button. You can click on that and it will take you to a form to collect some basic information about what you're using, where you would like to make your comment, and just any generic feedback that will be sent to FracTracker for use in making the app more accessible to everybody. Switch back to the app. And I'm going to log out and log in as a verified individual. Before we do that, inside the profile, before we bookmarked the report, as Matt said, under the saved flag here, tab here, you'll see everything that gets bookmarked. We're not involved with any campaigns yet, so this is empty. And same goes for reports. Nice, got it right. Okay. So we'll go back to the profile menu. It's the bottom right. Still no reports, different account, but still no reports. This one has campaigns created, and since they created it, they're the campaign leader, and this is a verified account, so they can create as many campaigns as they want. And we also bookmarked the FracTracker Alliance organization in this one. We'll go to the reports first. You fill out a basic title to your report. We're just gonna put one in Kansas for the heck of it, so I don't have to move the map around. We'll make this one a plant. We'll just leave it there. It defaults to no, but just clicking no anyway. Here you can save it as a draft. This is one way to keep it out of the public eye, or if you just want to save it for later. And we'll submit. At that point, it takes you to the dashboard. We're going to go to the profile real quick again, since that's where the report landed. You can move this to the left if you want to view the report or edit the report, or you can slide to the right to delete the report if there was either a mistake or you just don't want it there anymore. We'll go to the map now. It's hard to believe I have script here, but we'll follow it anyway. So under the map, as Matt showed, there's several layers. When you toggle these on and off, they obviously show up and they disappear. For some of them, compressor stations, there's only one category. So when you zoom in, you're just going to get the name of the compressor station. However, when you click on something like plants, if there's multiple types, so we have ethanol plants in here, we have petrochemical plants in here, it's going to show you the type first and then the name of the plant. And pipelines show up as well. Vetted pipelines are ones that FracTracker has digitized or is sourced that are a bit more accurate. The estimated pipeline locations are a little more generic, so they're there, but they might be off by a reasonable distance. So we just want to make sure that you're aware that the accuracy isn't all that great. And if you click on here, it filters by the date. The filter is just on the report section, so it's not going to filter out any of these other layers. It just filters the date on the reports. Under the dashboard, this is where we personalize it for each individual account. In this example, we have a location near Pittsburgh. You can click on the reports and it'll take you to the report as it does in the other tabs. You can delete it, or you can click on this folded map icon and it takes you to the map and the location of your radius, as well as a circle with the radius distance that is around your area of interest. Just real quick. And then if you leave this blank, it's going to default to 0. So nothing is going to show up. You're going to want to pick one of these numbers so that the reports in your area show up. And you can either move the map around, or you can use the search box to zoom to the location and add the radius. The same actions work there. We'll go to the Discover page. In order to reload these pages, you can on tablets, you can use your finger to pull down on the screen and it'll refresh. And we'll go to this one's campaign. So as you noticed, under campaigns, there's these 5 here. None of them say demo in them. All the campaigns for this account are currently just located in their profile and their dashboard. That's because the owner of this account has not made these campaigns visible to the public. That's something that they have control over, and we'll show you an example. So in this demo campaign, there's a couple things you may notice immediately. Right in the middle here there are 2 members in this campaign, and there are no reports associated with it. This little flag right here is telling you that somebody's waiting to join your campaign. So in order to let them in, there are 3 dots in the top right. Go down to members, and you can approve each individual here, or you can set it so that people automatically get into your campaigns. Also in here, if you have more than one person that you want to be responsible for the actions of the campaign, you can promote them and demote them based on whoever you want to allow the privileges to. You can also remove individuals, but with the remove button. We'll just promote this one, why not? So under edit campaign are a lot of the controls that I was discussing before. This is where you can make it public to everybody. I'm not sure if I showed this before or not, but you can set it so the public can view your reports, or you can set it so that the public cannot view your reports. And that goes for all of these toggles. And down here at the bottom is where you can automatically approve members so that you don't have to have them waiting in the pending until you approve them, as I just showed. The campaign manager is able to see the members of the organization, as we just showed. Now, down here in the bottom, these are where most of the action happens for the campaigns. On this left-hand side here, there's an announcements panel. Under here, the campaign manager can disseminate any announcements that they want for the campaign to be aware of. On the right side, there's a pin. When you click that, it'll pin whichever ones you want to the top so that they don't get lost in the mix in case it's important. These little comment section flags tell you how many comments are under here. So the members of your campaign can comment on your main announcements. Under here, there's just the one. And the campaign manager is allowed to add new announcements, and you can insert website links and photos and mark it as public or not public. Under reports, this one doesn't have any reports. We're going to go ahead and add report. Now you notice that nothing shows up here. That's because we want to make sure that you aren't being spammed with a whole bunch of reports. Up here it says that there's one report. That's the one that we just added. So under reports, there's a pending, and we'll approve it. So we have one report here. And we have a chat section that all the members can comment on. It acts more like a comment section under blogs. So it's not going to directly contact people, but you can edit your comments and remove them, or just kind of keep track of what the larger group and their goals are. When you click on this report, it takes you to a map of the report locations. And all of the reports that are tied to this campaign are going to show up in this blue color as opposed to red. I believe that's everything. I think so. So there is a lot in here. I realize that. We would love to set up individual meetings with community leaders in order to set up their campaigns. If you want to reach out to FracTracker, our emails are in the slide deck, and you can also just go to our website and collect the emails from there.